Welcome to That Entrepreneur Life, a podcast about entrepreneurship that takes you from idea to launch and beyond. Each week, your hosts, Andrew Lees and Clint McPherson, discuss different business topics aimed at adding value to any entrepreneur's journey.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of That Entrepreneur Life. I'm Andrew Lees, and I'm here with my co-host, Clint McPherson. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Not much, man. Just like we mentioned a little bit offline, it's Friday. Feeling good.
Yes, sir.
As entrepreneurs, though, I don't even know sometimes, unless you're going on vacation like our guest today, you don't even know it's Friday a lot of the times. And kind of, when does your week actually end as an entrepreneur? Who knows? But it's always a good thing to know that, hey, Friday is here. So even if you're still working, you do have family members that typically, if they're working a traditional job, 9 to 5, they're going to be here with you on the weekend and maybe support you and push you through the end. But like I said, we have a special guest today. Like always, I want to welcome her, and we want to welcome our special guest today, Elizabeth Pompalone, to the show. How you doing today?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome to have you on the show, Elizabeth. Very cool to have you. So before we get into everything and our questions, can you just give us a quick overview of who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, my name is Elizabeth Pompalone, and I am the owner of Absolute Marketing. We're a marketing firm that helps small business owners and nonprofit directors to actually create all of their marketing for the entire year in 5 days.
Love it.
That's very cool.
Elizabeth, that gets me pumped up because, again, I started my digital marketing agency because I had a passion for small business, right? And again, I think when an entrepreneur takes the path and really hones in, because look, majority of businesses, especially in your local area, there are a lot of small businesses, right? So there's so many people we can reach and so many people we can touch and so many people we can help, because again, a lot of the small businesses I'm not saying they're not educated, but they might not be as educated in digital compared to what they even started with. Maybe traditional marketing. Maybe they've been in business for, they just started, or they've been in business for 50 years and all they know is traditional, right? And all they can think of is, hey, putting a flyer or something on a wall or on a door somewhere and thinking that they're going to get traction. But really, marketing agencies, what we have at our disposal in this time or this day and age, I mean, we can give them so much more of an advantage and help level that playing field. So I really love that you just introduced and basically said that small business is where your actual passion is.
Yeah, been working with them for almost 20 years, and it's definitely, this draw. And when I started my business 14 years ago, it was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do, and it didn't even seem like a business at first. I thought that I was just making myself a job. I was just making some money on the side. Right. But it actually was my full-time thing. And when I was actually able to go full-time and support myself fully, then it was just like, I've made it. Like, you arrive at these levels and at these milestones, and when you go full time for yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And sometimes you even kind of blow past it and then look back and go, oh man, I made that. I was already there.
Yeah. You got to be grateful for that. That's a huge milestone.
Yeah. So, I mean, Elizabeth, you're now an expert marketing coach. I mean, you've been doing this obviously for a long time. And obviously when you become a coach in something, obviously you have a strength, right? That you can actually help people out with. Before you got to where you are today, though, can you take our audience back to when your entrepreneurial journey started and what it is about entrepreneurship specifically that led you to where you are today?
Yeah, I was 20 and I had just gotten married. I was working a software development job. Hated every minute of it. I really did. I was in a cube and I just felt like, is this what my life is going to be like? And I was 20 and I was already disgruntled and ready to quit. But what ended up happening, and this is kind of the sad part of the story, but my husband actually left me and I had nothing. He filed for divorce. I was kind of out on the street, if you will. And I had to move back in with my parents, which was I felt like Alice in Wonderland when she's the big Alice in the tiny little house. And her arms and legs are out the windows and doors. And I was like, that can't stay here. I can't, just kind of wither away and go into nothingness, because this is too constricting. And, I just knew I needed to do something else, and I was meant for more than that. And my parents ended up moving to another state about 700 miles away. And I went with them because I had nothing else to do. And I got a part-time job, and they were like, you can just stay with us. And I said, I really want to go out. I really want to get my own place. And I started to look for jobs. And at that time it was, 2007, and it was the recession was hitting, and the housing bubble was, bursting, and everything was just a mess. And I was sitting there going, I'm overqualified for these jobs. I'm underqualified for those jobs. And no one would have me, basically. No one would actually take me on. And my mom just said to me one day, why don't you just make yourself a job? Because there's nothing out there. You're going to have to figure this out. And she said, just pick 2 things you like and make a job. So I actually ended up picking old people and computers because I liked both of those things. And I'd worked at a library, and I'd met all these great older people who had all these amazing stories. And I just liked being around the older generations and grandparents' ages. And she was like, okay, find a place where those 2 things exist. And I was like, I guess senior centers. And in Florida, there's a million of them. There's a senior center on every corner. So I had a good picking of that. And I started to go there. I started to teach classes. I just called up and said, do you have a computer lab? Yes or no? Do you have a computer teacher? Yes or no? How much do you pay? And so I started at like $15 an hour, only on the times that I was actually teaching. So like 2 hours a week, $15. I was making $30. Yeah. But as I started to teach the classes, I started to get people to say, hey, come to my house. Hey, fix my computer. I don't know why my printer's doing this. And I actually built an entire business for 10 years out of computer repair for basically the senior population in Florida.
That's amazing. Especially because you didn't really go into it necessarily with that intention, but it came organically. You figured out that there was a need for that, and you got to service the people who you like to, really enjoyed being around too. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
it was really fun.
I really, from that angle though, it's like, that is what the type of stories we want to be. Those need to be told, right? Those are the stories that, like, you were down and out, right? Things seemed like they weren't going your way. You could have easily thrown the towel in. That is the true entrepreneurial spirit, though. At least at the time, you didn't know that's what it was. But sitting back and reassessing, making moves that you might not felt, comfortable with at the time, whether it was moving back with your parents or finding or trying to figure this out on your own. And then again, coming full circle. Words of wisdom from your mother, right? Because the people that really speak to you in your life, they typically speak from experience, right? The older generation or the people that have helped raise you, other entrepreneurs. And it's just inspiring when you hear that from somebody. You actually listen to your parents, right? Like, you listen to your mom, and it was like, okay, you might be onto something here. Let me pick a few things that you love. And a lot of people, like, they will go after something because, one, it's easy. 2, that, they see money and they don't really pick a passion or really look at it like, okay, what are 2 things that I do love, and then run with that. And then again, it just seemed like it was like a snowball effect, right? From what you just said, it just seemed like it morphed, right? From helping the older generation or teaching them classes to now you're doing house calls and computer repair and 10 years of that. And now you're a marketing coach. And that right there is very inspiring. And I hope people take away, like, look how easy it is when you're down and out, right? When life punches you in the face, regardless of where you're at that specific time, step back, assess the situation, and see how you can continue to move forward. Because if you can continue to move forward, again, you never fail. And that's what we've talked about on our past few shows, right? With a couple of our guests, Andrew. It's like, as long as you don't throw in that towel and throw that white flag up and you keep moving, that's more than 90% of the battle right there.
Yeah. Because most people are, they're getting to a difficult part and just giving up. One of the things I love about that story, Elizabeth, is how you weren't making very much money because, you were charging a relatively low, but I'm sure reasonable and fair, very fair, hourly rate. And you weren't working that many hours then, but you kept, you stuck with it. You kept at it, and you found the opportunity. You were ready for the opportunity when it came around. I think that's what a lot of people miss, and it's a struggle for a lot of entrepreneurs. Is you're going, and you're right there. You're just about to strike gold, find that opportunity, and then people give up. And there's this fear: am I on the right track? Am I on the right path here? So you don't know. It's not that success or finding that opportunity isn't guaranteed. But I think doing what you love to do, and then and making some money at it, and just chipping away at it and providing value to the world in some way, eventually, if you stick with it, eventually you're going to find something. It may not be what you were looking for. You might not have been looking to help older people fix their printers, but it was a great opportunity, and it only came about because of you going out of your way to work, to teach with them. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, my mom was actually an entrepreneur when I was growing up. She had a business that she started teaching people how to make baskets, and cool. She taught classes in community education. And I think that, and then she actually went into, multi-level marketing companies, and she did that for a while. And so she always had something on the side that was helping make extra money for our family, because my dad was in the government, and he was a civil servant. And so he made what he made. Like, it was kind of capped, this is what you get. And so she always had this like, well, hey, we want to go on vacation, or, hey, we want to do this fun thing, or, hey, we want to, buy the kids these fun things that they wanted or whatever. And so she would find a way to make that happen. And so I kind of have that from her a little bit, and from seeing that actually work. And it's funny because the advice she gave me, I've since remarried, and when my current husband, and when he was actually dealing with a similar issue, he had quit a job that he hated. He had just been basically, I have nothing to do. Like, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. We racked our brains for 3 days. We were like, okay, you could try this. No, I don't know about that. Well, you could try that. Okay. And it was just this massive like stress. And then I just turned around the third day, and I said, okay, why don't you just tell me the 2 things you like to do, and let's just make a job.
Love it.
And he ended up doing that. He is now a copywriter and editor, and he has his own business. And so it's like, it's that comes full circle, but definitely, when I was in college, I was wanting to do marketing. I wanted to build websites. And I had been building websites for years. And then when I went to the software development job, I thought I would be doing that, but it really wasn't,
Yeah.
And then when I actually started this company teaching computers, and it was kind of my lowest common denominator. It was I know how to do it. I could do it with my eyes closed, and I can help people. And it's going to be something that I felt was easy for me. I wasn't challenging myself at all, but the challenge ended up being starting a business, negotiating pay. Yeah. When people started asking me to come to their homes and fix their computers, I was like, I'm just going to double what I'm making, $30 an hour. I don't know. And so it just kind of grew from there. And I did start at that low amount. I started, at the bottom, and I ended up, before we sold that company, we were doing $75 an hour. We had 2 employees, and then we sold the company. And so I had built my other business, my marketing business, kind of in the middle of all that, because I didn't even realize I had a business to begin with. And when I started going to networking things, and I started being invited by other business owners to do, meet other business owners, I was like, there's other business owners? Like, I'm a business owner, and I didn't really see it as that.
Yeah.
But then when I started to meet them, I realized, well, dang, I've been doing this for 5 years, I'm up there, and people had just started, and I was kind of one of the old people at that point. And then I started to realize that I had a really good marketing tactic. And that's why I had been in business for 5 years. And that all these things that I had done for myself, I could now do for other people. And that's when I started the marketing company, kind of in the middle of running the other company too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes you don't realize that the thing that's really easy for you is really, really difficult for somebody else. And there's an opportunity there, So, and then you can get in with that easy to do thing, the thing that you can do with your eyes closed, and then always challenge yourself, right? To do it a little bit better, provide a little more value, add a service or whatever, step outside your comfort zone. But I think it's a great idea to just, get in with what you know really well. And there's somebody out there who wants to know how to do that and who doesn't have any idea. So, and I mean, especially with marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing seems like this big, scary thing that there's a million moving parts, and it certainly can be. And there's all kinds of gurus out there telling you to do this and that. And, you have to do everything at once. You've got to be on all the socials at once and all this stuff. But it can be so overwhelming. So I love that your mission is with your marketing company is to simplify marketing for business, especially small ones where it is the most overwhelming. If you could pick one thing to focus on in your marketing effort, what would that be?
The brand. It affects everything else. It really does. When we sit down with a client, the first thing we do is spend an entire day on the brand. The messaging, the way the logo looks, the colors, the name even. I've even changed people's business names because they just weren't resonating with their clientele or with their potential clients.
Yeah.
And so really focusing on that. It's not just about the pretty logo. I mean, people think, well, I got a logo, I'm fine.
Right.
No,
you make $1 million, a logo looks slick, Yeah.
Right. And it's really about the message is coming from your heart and like what your soul is telling the world, like, I can do this, or I know how to do this, or I think this is the best way, or whatever. And when people sit down with me, I actually tell them not to prepare. And I was actually on a call earlier and the guy was like, they don't bring you anything. And I was like, no, not really. And he goes, well, don't you like research? How do you do the client discovery? And I said, on the day, I don't actually research the client at all. And the reason I don't do that is because I want them to come in front of me and actually tell me about their business straight. Like I know nothing, which most times I don't. I'm just kind of like, okay, tell me about yourself. Yeah. And I want them to tell me about it because whatever they say in that moment, I can pick up those key things that a client would be picking up if they were trying to sell them something or sell them a service or a product. And what they kind of forget or lose is that they write all this stuff down and they take it from their mind and they start writing. And that's different than when you're speaking and when you're communicating with speech. And so when they'll talk to somebody, they can sell anyone on what they're buying or what they're selling. But when they actually write it for their website or they try to put it in a social post, it loses all of that. Yeah. And so what I try to do with that branding day is like, you tell me, and I'm going to pick out the pieces that are the best. And then on the next day, we're going to do the website. We're going to use all that stuff that you told me in the website. We're going to use all that stuff that's on the website in the social. And it just kind of waterfalls from there. Yeah. So if you can get that brand really solid, then you'll be good for the rest of it.
Yeah. Keeps you from being all over the place too. And just really dials in your message. I like on your website where you identify the problem, where you say, do you feel overwhelmed with marketing? Are you confused by email funnels and SEO? What if you could eliminate social media anxiety? Boom. Like those are really, everybody who's ever started a business is like, yep, all those check and double check, and then you're like, absolute marketing is the answer. Super simple. So yeah, I do think that, and that's really difficult. So when you look at it, you're like, well, that's simple, but that probably took her like 5 minutes to figure out. And maybe it did, but most likely it took you a while to really, figure out, all right, what are the real problems? Like, what are the real problems? And what is my solution? How am I going to relay that to the customer in like a really super clear, efficient way where they just want to take action?
Yeah. And I always talk about this with clients too, is, notice when I'm not selling on my website, I'm not selling marketing.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm selling relief.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You're selling
that's really what I'm selling is relief. And, I remember the old Rolaids commercial. They're like ROLAIDS. It spells relief, and that's like, it does. Cause they're not selling you an antacid. They're selling you complete relief. So you're not like in pain anymore. Right.
Exactly.
So that's kind of what I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are selling is relief from something. You're helping somebody with something. There's not a business in existence where you're saying this is you're not going to get anything out of this, but you're going to pay me for it. Even if you go to a golf place, if you go to a movie, you're selling some kind of relief, escape. And even like if you go say, I'm going to sell you a vacation package, you're selling that potential for a fun time, good memories, right? So you're selling something that the person wants or needs. And a lot of times where there's a pain point. Are you tired? Are you overwhelmed? Are you overworked?
Exactly.
Let me fix that,
Yeah.
And so whatever that thing is that is the pain point for your client, you have to be able to sell the relief of that, not just the product that you're actually selling.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing how how easy and simple it sounds, right, to us, or because we know these aspects, but like it blows my mind because I know that I spend so much of my time, and I'm sure you're this way too, especially with small businesses, educating them on why you are giving them that relief, or why like I have the solution to your problem, right? Like you don't have to spend countless hours on this, mind-numbing task when my team can take care of this for you. And again, simplify it for you. And I really think, and I've sat down with a ton of small businesses locally here, that I do a little bit of research on them when I go sit down with them, just so if they throw me any curveballs, I may be able to hit them, right? But at the end of the day, there's so many I sit down with and they don't know, right? They don't know their own story. They don't know who they're targeting. They want everybody. And it just, that frustrates me as an entrepreneur or as a business owner in my own business, because I'm like, okay, so am I going to have to make this story up for you? You've been around for 50 years.
Yeah.
And you cannot tell me who your target demographic is, what your messaging is. And it blows my mind. I just go in there, and if I was that emoji that, it's just like you see the explosion on top of the head, that's me. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? And then it's like, almost like, I just want to sell to everybody. And I'm like, we all want to sell to everybody, everything at all the times, right? Like, there's no time where we go into where we don't want to sell somebody. But again, it's about, look, we're not selling you a service. We're selling you a relief to your problem. And I think if you take that approach and you educate them on why they need your service or solution, it makes it so much easier for them to make that decision. Because really, I don't pressure. I'm not like, at the end of the day, I tell people I'm not a salesman. I do have to sell, and I do close sales, obviously. But I go in there and I leave the ball in their court, right? So they feel empowered. It's like, okay, this is all the information I know about this situation. This is why it can help. Here, you take the kickball. I'm going to walk away. You want to do business with me? Cool. If you don't, cool, right? Like, I'll move on. But I think it's like empowering them at the end of the day and just letting them know, again, you do have that solution. And I love that.
I think there's a really easy way. This is surefire for me. That to find the demographic, because a lot of people don't know. They say everyone, and I've seen the skincare people. They're like, anyone who has skin, and I'm like, it's not really gonna work, But there's something I heard a while back, and I use it a lot as an analogy. If you're going fishing and you're in a trout stream, there's trout in it, right? It's a trout stream, and you catch a salmon. You're not going to throw them back, right? But you're there for the trout. That's what you're there for. And so, I work with a lot of women business owners, but I actually had 3 calls with male clients yesterday. So it's not that I'm, my brand is very girly and kind of frilly and a little more on the, princessy side. But a lot of males come to me because they see the relief that they're getting. Like, it's like, okay, this answers my question. This answers my need. Done. Right. So it's not that you're going to not ever sell to anyone else, but your primary way that you're spending your money and your marketing and your focusing should be very narrow.
For sure.
And I actually found, and this is something from just seeing hundreds and hundreds of business owners. I mean, because we do sites in a day, I mean, I've seen sometimes 100 in a year, that's how many sites we do. And so I see so many business owners. And the thing I find is the most consistent is that they are their own demographic.
Yeah.
They are their own demographic because they found a hole in something, and they're trying to fill that need because they found it in their own lives. Whether it's, I've had clients who opened home healthcare companies because their parents needed home healthcare and they couldn't find the right thing. So they made it, and so things like that, it typically people are their own demographic. There's very few exceptions to this, and they do exist, but most people are their own demographic. And I find that that's so much easier for them to think of, what would I want if I was looking for this service? Because chances are the reason they have this business is because they were looking for this service at one point and it didn't exist, or it didn't exist the way they thought it should. And so that gets them to say, I'm a consumer too. I can't just think of this as a business owner only. I have to think of it as, if I got 15 emails from a company in a day, I'd unsubscribe, you know?
It's
and so
important.
All that marketing stuff can actually be filtered through the consumer hat as well, but also remembering that typically we are our own demographic.
I love that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember that we're consumers and put on that consumer hat before you send an email, before you send 15 in a day, because really I've definitely been there where as a business owner, I'm like, well, why wouldn't this work? Like, let's just get down, you're very like, let's just get down to it. Here's what it is. Please, I don't, this is a no brainer. People should buy this, or people should engage with this piece of content or whatever it is. And then you're scrolling through Instagram or your emails later, and you automatically delete very similar emails, or you automatically scroll right past a piece of content that was very similar to what you just created because it just didn't resonate. And then if you think that way and you think about, oh, what are the things that I actually do click on and read and take action on, that's what you really have to, the way that you really have to think about it. But it's tough to get there and to like really make that mindset and shift.
So Elizabeth, let's switch a little bit and go over to the content creation portion of everything. So content creation for a lot of business owners, or just for anybody in general, it can be super overwhelming, right? Because a lot of people don't really know where to start. It's almost like having that writer's block from time to time. And with that said, what's your advice to people looking to distress the content creation process?
You have to choose a day for the year. I like to do a day for a year, or sometimes people do a day for 3 months or 6 months, but you want to pick 2 time periods and put them as containers. So if you say, I'm going to spend 8 hours or 4 hours or whatever that container is on this much content, 3 months, 6 months, a year. I like to do 8 hours for a year of content. When you set containers like that, Parkinson's law kicks in. And Parkinson's law says that the amount of work you have will fill the amount of time you've set. So if you say it takes us 30 days to build a website, it's going to take you 30 days. It's just going to take you the full 30 days. If you say we have 8 hours to build this site, you're going to get decisions made like so fast, and people are going to hustle to make it happen, right? Because that's all the time there is. And so anything you do in life or in business, if Parkinson's law will apply, if you set a time limit and then you put work into that time limit, it will fill the entire time. So I like to do the 12 months in a day. And what I try to do first is to really set a calendar that's for a week. We're not going for the whole year. We're not doing month by month. Tell me what should happen every single week. And I do sometimes between 3 to 7 posts a week for clients when we sit down and do these days. And this can really break down your content creation so that you're not going, dang, I have to make 365 pieces of content. Mm-hmm. No, you actually have to decide how many pieces of content per week. Then you have to, again, thinking as a consumer, how many would I like to see? Mm-hmm. And then thinking, what kinds of posts am I going to be putting out there? So let's say you did 3 posts a week. 1 post should be a sales post. It's because I think you should sell at least once a week.
Right.
1 post should be like an educational, informational post. I like to use FAQs for this. It's super easy. You can make a quick graphic in Canva, and now you have like how many of your FAQs you have. You now have that many weeks of post.
Awesome.
And then I like to do like some kind of inspirational or fluff post that may be funny, or a meme or a GIF or something like that. I don't know, whatever, something funny that's just more fun, relaxed. Mm-hmm. And it might even be making fun of your own industry, which I do a lot. And so I like those 3 like main posts, and that's only 3 for the week. You might want to do more. You might want to be on there every single day. It's up to you. But let's say we have those 3. Now we only have to find 52 educational posts. We only have to find 52 sales posts. And really we don't, which I'll tell you in a minute. And then we have to find maybe 52 funny, fluffy posts, right? This is all evergreen content. None of this is going to change. The funny stuff's going to still be funny. The FAQs and the educational stuff is probably stuff you're telling your clients every day, all day for the last 10 years. Like it's the same. Mm-hmm. And then the sales posts are what you are actually trying to promote. And I tell people, you need to tell everyone else where you want to be, not what you're already doing. So if I'm doing computer repair, but I want to grow my marketing business, I need to be selling marketing in my sales post, not selling, well, yeah, we'll do your computer repair, blah, blah. That'll sell itself by it because it's already running, right? But if I'm even shifting within my same business and I'm saying, well, we were working with small businesses and now we really want to work with nonprofits, my sales post should be geared towards nonprofits.
Yeah.
Most of them anyway. So what I do for the year is I'll write 6 to 8 sales posts. That's it. Really good ones, short, sweet, with a link to a product. And usually I just base them on the products that I have. So for me, we have 7 power days that we do. And I could do 7 posts, one on each of those days and why you might need it, and then link to that page. And then we also do a power week. I could do a post about that. That's 8. And then we also do an a la carte day. So that's another one. So we got 9 sales posts now. And then I repeat them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a new sales post every week. It's silly. Yeah. It needs to be repeated. After you haven't seen something for 6 weeks, you actually forget it, like through social media. So if I repost something, you might go, oh yeah, I think I remember seeing that. Or you might even go, oh, that's new, even though it's not, because your brain will delete it.
Exactly. So reposting the exact same post after 6, 7, 8 weeks or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. And I've even done that with question series. With my husband did one actually on how to write your bio. It was a 4-week series and it was just the same post over and over and over. Now the other posts during the week, they all change. They're all different. So we've written 9 sales posts. We found 52 informational or educational things, maybe even from our own blog, which is even better. And then we've gotten 52 funny things. Mm-hmm. I mean, that doesn't seem that bad, right? That's a year of content.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's something that you could do in 8 hours, in 4 hours.
Yep.
Which is insane. So yeah, imagine that having, an entire year's worth of content in just 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah. I mean,
Canva, a day's worth of work.
And Canva makes that simple, right? Yeah, like, I don't know Canva's if you use Canva.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but it just helps. Like you can just line those things up and it's just like boom, 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 and throw them down, copy and paste, whatever it is. Make sure you have a background set, the font you want. Yeah, you're going to change some things up. But I mean, like you just mentioned earlier, Canva, I mean, it's super quick. And I've used plenty of other tools that just make it a pain in the butt. And you're like, Canva is one of those things that solves a huge problem. And then it got like every size that you could imagine and ever need, right?
I just do like 3 or 4 templates for the whole year.
Awesome.
And I just reuse them and switch them up and, put a quote here or a text here, just kind of like switch up what I'm using them for. And then I'll even do like, you might want to even throw in some more posts if you're like, 3 a week. Okay, that's great. But maybe I just want a few more a month, but I don't really know where to put them. Yeah. And so I do like the holiday ones. And I actually have in our membership a ton of holiday ones that I've created over the years. Tons of St. Patrick's Day, tons of Easter, tons of like all the different major holidays. Yeah. And so I actually give those in our social media course, but like you can create like the post for holidays or for anniversaries or birthdays or whatever it is you want to also promote. And those are just spotty, right? They're just kind of here and there. They're not every week. They're not, some of them are 2 or 3 a month, maybe. Some you might have 5 or 6 a month. And it's just to fill in the calendar a little more. But this is not to replace all of your social media. Right. Because when we have something that we see online or something we want to share, or maybe something happens that's exciting and we have a photo or whatever that is, we want to be able to feel creative and, actually free to post that. And you can be free to post it. It's the more the merrier with social media. But at the same time, when we're so bogged down with the thought that, oh my gosh, I didn't post this week. Oh my gosh, it's been 3 weeks since I posted something. I have to just throw something up there. Yeah. We get panicked, we get stressed, and our creativity just goes down the tubes. Like it's just gone. Right. But this allows us to say every week, even every day, if you wanted, something is happening behind the scenes. And if my life gets in the way, if my work gets in the way, I don't have to worry about not posting. But then when something exciting or fun happens, I'm just free to post that if I want to.
Yeah, you're setting that base, and at a minimum, if you don't post anything else, that's still great. That's still 150, 6 or so posts per year that you've gotten done really quickly. And so if you don't do anything else, that's still amazing. That's going to get you traction. That's going to improve your presence online. And then I totally agree. When you feel confident that that's all set and you don't have to worry about, your base, and that you actually don't necessarily, like, you don't have to post anything else. then you're gonna probably post more because you're gonna get into that creative mindset. Whereas, if you're scheduling out on a week to week basis, which I have done plenty of times, and it's super stressful because and at the end of the day, a lot of times it just doesn't get done. Right. Nothing happens. But yeah, once you feel confident that you're okay with what you already have, then I totally agree. You're going to see something that gets you excited. You're going to maybe spend an hour or two trying to figure out some really cool post, and your content. I bet the total level of your content in general is just going to get elevated because of that.
Absolutely. And this happens too. And when you just overall entrepreneurship, this happens in your finances. When you have that base coming in and that level, you feel confident about that, you actually end up selling more because you feel like my bills are paid. Yeah. Like I can do this. We're good. We're solid. Even if it's $1,000 a month, $5,000 a month, whatever the number is that you're like, okay, like I can pay what I need to pay. I can, subsidize what I need to subsidize, and it's done. Then you're like, well, if I've already made that for the month, now what else can I do? And then you have that fire and drive to like do more.
Sure.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly what happens when we're stressed about money, when we're stressed about creating content or whatever. It just seems to have that opposite effect. And it's so frustrating because we're like, I know I need to make more money. I know I need to make more content, but because that stuff isn't happening, I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I can't move past it. So, and you get confidence back when things are going well. So then when things are going well, that's the time to really step on the gas. That's another good lesson. Like, don't just sit back and let things devolve back into where they were before. Right. So yeah, it's interesting. So through your entrepreneurial journey, Elizabeth, from the highs to the lows, what's been the most difficult thing for you about being an entrepreneur?
Having business ventures fail, because I've had them do that before.
Yeah.
And actually, most recently, I was in a partnership with a colleague of mine, actually a client of mine. And in June of last year, we decided to open a company together. And it was a trivia company, an online trivia company during the height of the lockdowns. I saw these other trivia companies making $5,000 a night. And I was like, wow, oh, I've got to get in on this. And it goes back to what you said at the beginning. When you go after that money, it's not going to be the same as if you go after the passion. I don't have a passion for trivia. I don't even play trivia on a regular basis. And so I like it. It's fun. I started this company with her. We had it for about 3.5 months. We put so much money into it. We didn't get anything out of it. It totally failed. And it was because at the time that I saw these people already had existing trivia lists. They already had existing trivia customers. They were existing trivia companies that were doing it in person and now had to do it online. And I just saw there's some money there. We're in lockdown as well. Like, what else can we do to make ends meet in a way? And I was like, let's just do this. Let's see if it works. And we ended up putting a lot of money into it. It was fun. It was definitely a learning experience. We had to hire people. But it was in the end, it was a failure. And I didn't talk about it last year because it was too close. But this year, I'm kind of seeing it for what it was. And I do want to tell people that, failures happen even to successful people. I'm running a 6+ figure business over here, and I've already sold a business. And then I try to start something new and it doesn't work. And it really was because the passion wasn't there. The heart wasn't there. And also we didn't have the base that we needed to make something like that successful immediately. We would have had to wait a year or more to grow it. And we didn't really have the time for that. So I just want to kind of share that because even successful people fail and frequently and recently.
Yeah. Well, if you're not failing in some way, businesses are going to fail. Things within the business are going to fail. And you're pushing yourself if things aren't going perfect all the time. If they are going well all the time and something's not failing, something's not going right, you're not getting rejected in some way, then you're just not pushing as fast or as hard as you should be.
For sure. I really think though, it's also something that you can speak on about maybe that business venture failed, but you didn't fail, right? Like,
right.
That it was just wrong place, wrong time. So you thought you saw something that you can capitalize on, but again, it wasn't something you were passionate about, something you don't do on a regular basis. Even if you enjoy it, it's not something that you live and breathe every night, right? It's not something that, hey, I'm playing trivia tonight, guys. I play it 7 days a week, guys. Right. I play it like 3 hours a day, guys, right? Like, it's not one of those things that, yeah, it might be like, hey, we're getting together with friends this week. Maybe something you do once a month, maybe something twice a month, but it's something that even if you enjoy it, again, you might have failed in that business venture, but you didn't fail as an individual. You just failed in that aspect. But again, you didn't put all your eggs in one basket. You might have spent a ton of money on it or whatever, but it was something that, you do have a business over here. You've sold a business, so you are successful. And I love how you just said, like, successful people or successful entrepreneurs, whatever, do fail. But at the end of the day, you didn't fail. Like I said, I don't believe overall. It's just that aspect or that angle that you took just wasn't the right thing to do, right? And I believe everything happens for a reason. Whether it just, like, again, is something that we have to go through to understand that there's always something better. And again, if we're not meant to do it, it's not going to succeed, right? Like, at the end of the day. And I really think that just I wanted to mention that before we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that, it was about diversification. And sometimes diversification can really help your business. It can actually make you stronger because then you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. But in this case, it made not my other business weaker, but it did take away time, effort, energy, resources. And it was, even though it was for a short time, and 3 months, 3.5 months, didn't feel short. It felt like a long time, but it did remove those things from the business that I did have and that I was still working. And it also made me stressed, tired.
Yeah.
It was more effort. It was more work. And I'm not saying that those things are bad necessarily, but in this instance, like you said, it wasn't the right place, the right time. There was no passion there. And that really can tell you if you should do something or not. And I feel that really strongly. I also hate working with partners, even though my partner was great. It wasn't like that was an issue, but I felt constricted by the partnership. And I'm very much like benevolent dictator. Like, I will take care of the decisions. And so that was constricting for me. And it was me pushing myself to try and do something different. But I realize now that that's not me. I'm not a partner type person. And that's fine. And other people are. But the other thing I realized is that, it was something that was not within my business plan. It didn't align with my other business plan.
Yeah.
If the diversification had aligned with my other business plan and it was going from, computer repair and then into marketing, it almost seems like it's in the same vein, right? It's kind of computers, technology, like you're still going in a direction. But this was like left field, it just took us in a totally different direction. And I really think that I didn't even take my own advice that I give my clients, which is go back to your business plan. Does this thing that you want to do, whether you really want to, or you kind of want to, or it's a lot of money or not, does it align with what you're already doing? Because that's going to make it more successful. You're going to support each other. Your businesses will support each other rather than them pulling at each other and basically taking resources from each other.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm a member of a group on Facebook called Trends, and it's like a weekly email, and the whole thing is they talk about the trends, of different products, different services, like what's going on in the market. It's really interesting. So you get this very, very cool perspective of, of what's doing well, what products and services might be kind of like trending and on the rise, like where there might be opportunities to jump on. But it's so interesting because I always think like, that would be a really cool product to do, or that would be a cool service to get into. But then it's like, I'm not going to get into home gardening or, like one trend might be like bonsai trees, and, they go through the metrics and the numbers and like they really dig into it. And you're like, oh, wow, there's a lot of money to be made in that. Like, doesn't align at all with what I'm doing. That would just be, it'd be crazy. And I do think that maybe there's some entrepreneurs out there who can, because I do see like in those groups, kind of the chatter that goes on is sort of like people seem to be moving at 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah.
And And it seems sometimes like some people are just doing a million different things. Like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to be super successful here and there. And I just don't think that's super realistic. So getting that information and understanding it, absorbing it, and it is great. And it's, I think it's helpful, but I don't think it like definitely can lead to like that shiny object syndrome where,
yeah, for sure,
this is trending. All right, I got to jump on that before something happens. Like, there will always be something trending, just like in real estate, where
same thing with marketing.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be an opportunity. Okay, so you missed out on the real estate bubble in San Francisco a long time ago. Well, there's up and coming trending places, just like there's always going to be up and coming trendy businesses. So you got to make sure that you're not just trying to jump on things all over the place, but I love that you tried something and, got outside of your comfort zone, especially partnering with somebody, because that can be, it's cool to do things and start businesses and build businesses with people. But that has its challenges, especially depending on what kind of a partner you are. So it's, but it's great to try all that stuff if you can, and if it aligns with what you're doing.
I think it happens in marketing too. The shiny object syndrome. That's definitely something that happens where people are like, oh, I got to be on TikTok. Oh, I got to be on Snapchat. I got to be on, and it's something different every week. And I actually have a girl right now who is in my membership, and she was saying that she didn't always feel like dancing around in a video and being on TikTok. And I was like, well, maybe you don't need to be on TikTok. She was like, oh my gosh, well, I have to be on TikTok. And I was like, well, we should look at your demographics again and see, because I don't even know that it might be part of what her marketing scheme should look like. And she's like, I'd rather write a blog post. And I was like, to go ahead and do that. You should be writing blog posts.
Whatever you're better at. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Play to your strengths. There's always going to be something else out there. There's, now there's Clubhouse, which I think is really cool. I think, as a podcast, we're definitely going to jump on there and start interacting with our audience, and really excited to get into that. That probably makes a lot of sense for our podcast, especially.
Right.
But like, we're not probably going to be on TikTok. I'm not going to dance with Clint. Like, it's not happening.
My thing is like, I think a lot of us, like, I mean, especially if you listen to somebody like Gary Vee, right? He's like, don't worry about creating, just document. But he also says like, you post on everything, everywhere, all the time. And that's just super unrealistic. It's like, it's easy for somebody like Gary Vee or somebody like Grant Cardone or somebody that has a team that can do that for him. Right. And it's harder for small businesses. And maybe, yes, you do have a team that can help you out from time to time, or there are scheduling tools for social media that will help you do that. But again, you have to plan it, right? You have to do the container approach or whatever, and just allocate certain amount of time to making sure this is all done, that you can post it, that you can plan it, and you're not reacting at that moment. Because if you're reacting at that moment, it's already too late. Because again, like you said earlier, Andrew, you're going to get frustrated. Now you're going to start getting stressed. Now you're like, I have to post 3 times a day on this channel. And then I have to post 10 times on this. And now you're just so overwhelmed that it's like, just again, focus on one, get real good at one. And then you can repurpose that content on all the other platforms in different ways. But again, you have to have a strategy in place, right? It's not like, boom, it just happens unless you have one of these scheduling tools. Because it's funny because everybody's like, what? A lot of people want Instagram, and a lot of these scheduling tools don't allow you to do Instagram, because Instagram's like, it's one of those things that you have to go on your cell phone and do it. And then now some of them are open the API up so you can do it. So it's just one of those things you got to look in and make sure it's the right place and right time. And don't always listen. I'm not saying Gary Vee doesn't throw some good gold out there. But again, when you have a team like him and you're making the money he has, it's easy to be on every platform at all the time before you can even think about it. Like, he has a team creating content around him, documenting everything he does. And it's like, boom, it goes out to the masses before you can think about it. Right. So it's easy for him to be on TikTok if he wants to. I don't know if he is, but like for us, it's like, doesn't make sense. Clubhouse is super cool, like you said, Andrew. And I haven't really dug into it, but I have listened. And it's just one of those things that like, it might be where the podcast needs to be, right? Like where we can really have more of an impact. Is Facebook and Instagram and all these other channels something we need to even waste time in? You never know, but it's always something. Again, we're trying to post our stuff in as many places as we can, but without really stretching us and pulling away from our primary jobs, right? Because even though we're doing this podcast, I own a marketing agency. Andrew owns 2 separate companies, right? And it's just like these things like, or 3 maybe. And it's one of those things where, we're with Stoke Strategies, Stoke Ventures, and then Grass Rack. There's all these things that we have going on, and we're allocating time for this too. And so with all that going on, like, you have to surround yourself with a team that can make this stuff happen for you, or it just doesn't get done, right?
Yeah. And I think there's some really interesting demographics about social media, which a lot of people don't look into. They just go, got to be on social media, got to be on TikTok, got to be on Instagram. And they just pick because that's it's what they're on, or it's what someone told them they should be on. But if you actually look at the demographics for Instagram and Twitter, I'll just pick those 2 because I find them hilarious. Twitter has the blue icon. Instagram has a pink icon. Right. Twitter is short, sweet, to the point, words, right? Mostly. Instagram is visuals, images, fancy stuff, flowery stuff, more women driven, right? More men are on Twitter under 35. That's the majority of their users. More women under 35, 70%, I think, is users on Instagram.
Right.
If you're not targeting men under 35, or you're not in a political space, because that's really the Twitter side of things right now, or if you're not targeting women under 35 and you're not a lifestyle brand, what are you doing?
Exactly.
What are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah. The message could be totally lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And consistency too, Clint, as you were talking, I was thinking about consistency, and that's what I like about your program, Elizabeth, is that it promotes consistency.
It's key.
It's everything. You have to try and you have to work on good content. Can't be bad content. It should be as good as you possibly can make it. But that consistency, I feel like, is the most important thing. And it's easy. Like Clint, you were talking about Gary Vee, his style is that, this is easy. You just jump on here. You want to do a Twitter thing? You want to do a TikTok? Yeah, it's easy. You just do it. And I think, like, it's not that he's not at all that he's trying to mislead anybody. But you do have to make sure that that's consistent. Because if you jump on TikTok and you make one video, whatever, you put a couple posts on Instagram, whatever, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make you like good at that platform, and it doesn't just throwing up a bunch of stuff on all the platforms like sporadically isn't going to help. So just focusing in on 1 or 2 or maybe 3 max. I don't, probably just 1 if you 2 or
3 is like what I tell people, because sometimes you might be Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or you might be Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Like, there's usually 2 to 3, but more than that, gosh.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. With my one company, it's a product company called Grass Racks. We make bamboo display racks for boards, bikes, and skis. And we're on Instagram. We're also on Pinterest. I think, like, we've sold barely nothing on directly through Instagram. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh man, you can make so much money with a product on Instagram, and you can, but I mean, and I will not say that our account is the best. We've tried to be more consistent. We've tried to be better about it, especially recently. But Pinterest is over there. We've got a bunch of stuff, a bunch of followers somehow. Or actually, people are actually following our Pinterest account. Yeah. We're not putting nearly as much effort into our Pinterest account, but we are posting we have posted a bunch of stuff over the years. And that gets us real sales, real traffic, real sales. It's indexable. It makes
There's
more
a
sense
secret
for us.
about Pinterest, though. There's a secret. I'll tell you guys. But don't tell anybody else. This is hush hush. I was kidding.
Keep it on the down low, guys.
Keep it on the DL, people. All right. So
nobody use this. Just kidding. Use this.
Use it. Definitely. Just don't tell anybody. So Pinterest there's a half-life of a post. So that means how long does the post live in the feed of that platform? So for example, Facebook is like 90 minutes. Instagram is about 24 hours. And so in LinkedIn's 24 hours as well. So that's about what we're seeing, right? So you got these like really short lead times. Twitter is 20 minutes, by the way. It's really short.
Wow.
So that's how long it lives in the feed. And then, when you go to your feed and it like automatically refreshes, that's when it ditches all the old posts and puts a bunch of new ones in. So that's kind of what we're talking about with half-life. Pinterest. First of all, they have a 10% more likelihood that someone will actually purchase through a Pinterest link.
Yep.
It's like it's an automatic like stamp of approval, like Good Housekeeping, like, yeah, buy this.
Right.
And then their half-lives of their posts, and this just blows my mind every time. It's 151,000 hours.
Man.
Holy crap.
It's 3.5 months for one post.
Yep.
So the fact that you're getting great traction onto Pinterest doesn't surprise me at all. And I think that so many people discount it, especially when selling, physical products or actual, products. Because then when you're selling digital products, it's a little less, exciting. But when you're selling physical products that you're shipping or you're doing, like you said, for the displays and stuff, those people, like when I'm looking for something that's a physical product, I go to Pinterest. I want them to show me 50 of them or 100 of them. And then I'm going to choose what I feel is best against all the other ones. And it's all visual. Exactly. So I'm not having to go to this site and check and that site and check and then Amazon and look and try and 50 million search terms. I do one search term or two search terms in Pinterest. I can save all my favorites and then go back and look at everything together and then just purchase because I'm ready because I've already done all the work. So definitely Pinterest is a huge first product-based businesses. And it's less big for like the service industry, but it can really be utilized in a lot of different ways and people discount it so much. Yeah,
definitely gets overlooked. And I know that they've revamped their whole marketing thing. And we've talked to people over there in their marketing department and they were kind of, I think, going through some growing pains or trying to figure out how to do their ads and all that stuff. But yeah, even doing ads on Pinterest, our cost per click is way lower than Instagram. And it's like we were getting a bunch of traffic and sales. That's the thing. Like, who cares about traffic if it's not converting to sales? So
exactly.
So Elizabeth, as we wrap up this episode, I mean, I believe me and Andrew, we can talk to you forever and all day because I've enjoyed this conversation. But if you can leave our listeners with one piece of advice that they can walk away with or action, what would it be?
I have two things, so I'll try and keep them short.
Okay.
The first thing is that whatever you're going through right now, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, it's temporary. And whether we feel like we're in a tough situation with our business or with our life or whatever it is, or we're not moving forward, that's temporary. You can make something happen to make the situation change. And anything that's I was in a bad spot through my divorce and I thought it was going to last forever, but it didn't. It was temporary and I was able to move out of that. So know that change is coming and you don't have to be stuck wherever you are for very long. It's going to change. And whether you're in a good position, that's going to change too. And you have to be prepared mentally and, even financially for those situations as well. And so just to be aware of that and not have this cloud hanging over you, but just to know I'm prepared. I'm ready to go for whatever's next. And at the same time with that, I read a book a few years ago that really changed my entire business and it was Profit First. And when I read that and I started implementing it, I can't tell you how much stress just went away immediately. It was like melted like snow. It was just crazy. Right. And now that we've been using it for several years, we wouldn't have got through the pandemic without that. We wouldn't have been able to pay our taxes in the last few years without that. Like it was such a blessing. And to be able to feel compensated as a business owner and to be able to feel like the business was making money. And that would actually enabled me to hire my team. And we're going to be bringing on someone full time in a few months. Like this is definitely the missing piece for so many entrepreneurs when they feel like they're just living paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling to even make that. If you are not implementing Profit First, even though it may seem limiting at first or kind of like, oh, it's a budget, it's not. It's so much more than that. It's a mindset. So I really encourage people to go get that book, get the Audible, whatever. You can find it at the library even, and get it and read it.
I love that. That's really, really awesome advice. And yeah, you heard it here. Check out Profit First. It's a great book. I haven't read it from cover to cover, but so I have to. But we've Clint, we had another guest. His name is escaping me right now, but he teaches that, and he's kind of endorsed by the guy who wrote Profit First, and the content is we actually have my wife bought
Rocky
the book.
Lalvane or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, Rocky was really cool, and it's such a simple philosophy but super powerful. And it makes you think like, I need to make money. The point of having a business is to make money. Right. But at the same time, you've got this thing that it's kind of like, you've got to nurture it and help it and put money back into it. And so that balance is really tough. But at the end of the day, you got to make sure that you're making money with your business. So it's a really cool philosophy.
And I love that even if you start with $100, $5, you can still use the system. Even if you bring in $5,
right?
Still use the system. It makes sense. And you can pay yourself a paycheck on day 0, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. Even if it's $5, even if it's the smallest amount, the point is to make sure that you're allocating funds to the right places. And one of them is your pocket, right?
Yep.
100%, guys. Well, I think that's a wrap for this episode. And from the both of us, Elizabeth, we want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and adding value to what we're doing on our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was awesome to have you on, Elizabeth. Really fun time talking to you. And like Clint said, we could definitely talk for a while. So we'll have to have you back on. Thank you all so much for listening to That Entrepreneur Life. To learn more about what Elizabeth is working on, check out getabsolutemarketing.com. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe to our podcast and don't forget to download our free ebook at thatentrepreneurlife.com.
Thanks for continuing to support what we do as entrepreneurs. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode of That Entrepreneur Life.
Thanks for listening to That Entrepreneur Life podcast. Be sure to visit thatentrepreneurlife.com to join the conversation, access our show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode as we continue to add value. Until next time.